Hello, and welcome to the variable overview. And today we're going to look at the intersection. Odd name. You know, when you look at the variable grid, you can see that the left and the right have a place of convergence. And that place of convergence is at the very center of the grid. That is the four variables that are at the heart of the grid itself. And if you look at the left-hand side, those two variables that are there in that central position, they're called the intersection. And in essence, this is something that is exceedingly difficult. The upper variation of that is the variable that is in the upper four grouping, that this is all about the potential for, as an example, dyslexia, the difficulties that can arise when there is a confusion between the way in which the mind and the brain operate in relationship to the other. The same is true for the variable below, yet the variable below can be even more complex. It can actually result in a breakdown between left brain and right brain functions. Now, this is not about frightening anybody or making them feel uncomfortable about the nature of their variable, but it says something very, very specific. Without strategy and authority, there is no way for any being to be able to operate correctly. And in operating correctly, it does not make a difference what kind of configuration you have. Every single one of these variables, none of them are more difficult, less difficult, better, worse than the other. It is not about any kind of mental judgment in relationship to them. They are each unique in the way in which they establish potential in a human being. But in the not self, in those beings who are not correct, the intersection is filled with problems, and it leads to many, many difficulties, particularly in children. One thing very important to understand about being in the intersection, and it's true for every other variable as well. Beyond strategy and authority, the first step and the most important step in transformation is to discover your dietary regimen, to discover your PHS. That is, out of primary health system comes a capacity for you to be able to understand specifically how to take nutrition into your vehicle. Taking nutrition into your body in a way that is correct for you is going to ameliorate so many potential problems. This is particularly true for children who are going to have variables in this intersection. If they are not properly nourished, then they are going to have very, very obvious functional problems with the way in which their brain systems operate. Everything from being dyslexic to being dysphasic, all of the various dilemmas that can arise when there is confusion between left and right. Follow your strategy and authority, but most of all, if you have a child in your life who is in the intersection variables, it is so important for that child to be nourished correctly according to their correct PHS.
Hey, hey, my fellow travelers on this spaceship Earth, spiraling through space and time. Let's continue on our journey around the wheel and looking at the different faces of the Godheads as they run your life.
Or not.
Or not. Human design, that's what we're here to do, is to kind of help you to see what runs you and then not be run by it. Yeah? Duality, where are we today?
We are in the quarter of duality, taking a look at the face of Harmonia. And Harmonia she's got a lot of different guises, but in this one in particular, it comes from the Greco-Roman tradition. Her sister was the goddess of chaos and disorder. And she's the goddess of harmony. And, it's built into her name. I mean, it seems pretty self-obvious here. But there's a deeper aspect here in that she's really bringing this quality of, we're in duality, of marital harmony, of the agreement and understanding, the bargain in essence of marriage. We really are looking here at female power in essence, and she really embodies some of the real feminine qualities of power here. Historically, this is a goddess that we see a lot in the guise of either maiden, mother, or crone. This arc of the life of women, and her power here. We start out with the power to be fertile or not. Of women's control over their own ability to reproduce. And then we come to the power to hold the bond together. This ability to make the family unit work or not. It's not, in some of the other faces, it's not so much an empowerment for women. There's not that honoring of her power in this. And then we come to, this power to deny or break the bond. It's really women who keep the bond together, but you guys would hang around endlessly if we feed you, Pretty much.
I mean, we're in the duality, so sex is a big part of it too.
Yeah.
But it's true.
And then women carry the power, the history of the bond, and we're looking at our seven-centered history, the lineages, the family bloodlines, who should marry who in order for these families to come together, or, this would be a good match. You get the female as the matchmaker. And then we come to really the crux of the matter, and it's, the power of women to either oppress or to be oppressed. And this is where we see the hook of how it gets distorted.
The distortion, yes. This is where mind slips in and says, well, we're talking about survival here. So the best thing for survival is, we'll give you a little control. You'll have the responsibility for making sure that the family stays together. Or, if you feel that it's not going to work, then you can break it. We'll give you a little bone here.
If we look historically in the seven-centered world, women lost their power over their fertility. Birth control has given a measure of that back to women, but they also, you could not get divorced. You could not deny sex to your husband. It was
because that was a threat. That was a threat to the species.
It doesn't have to be anymore.
Not anymore. Not anymore. That's what strategy and authority does. It provides you with that place, that base, that's you.
Yeah.
It's like survival is guaranteed, folks. We don't have to struggle at it anymore. It's here. It's for us. Now, the real question is, can we live? Can we live?
As ourselves.
As ourselves.
Hello. In this ongoing series of human design and genetics, I was explaining the correlations between the hexagrams, the codons, and the amino acids. basically every codon, every genetic codon is made up of 3 bases. But we have 64 codons. So to come to the number 64, we have to have 4 bases. 4 times 3 is 64. And we have 4 bases that are at the DNA side and 4 bases that are at the so-called RNA side. But there's only one difference there. 1 base. We have thymine at the DNA side and we have uracil at the RNA side. So we have this 4-ness that has a 5 in it. We have seen it already when we correlated to the bases of the lowest level under the line at the human design side, that we have this 4 and 5 structure here. On the other hand, we can really correlate this to type itself. And we know that there is, within the generators, 2 kinds of generators: manifesting generators, impure generators. So this uracil or this thymine can be really correlated to generators and manifesting generators. So uracil is the manifesting generator. Thymine can be correlated to the pure generator, because the RNA is the part that gets the genetic code into manifestation. Therefore, we have the manifesting generator there. On the other hand, when it comes to energy types, there are 2 kinds of groupings. Manifestors and generators are energy types, and the non-energy types are projectors and reflectors. So when we talk about base pairing, we see that adenine and thymine, adenine and uracil pair together. So that means that the pure yang, the adenine, is the manifestor itself. So it means here we have the 1 base pairing and the groupings of the types. Then when it comes to the non-energy types, we have the reflector and we have the projector. And here we have cytosine and guanine. And that's always the question, what is what? And the projector is cytosine and the reflector is guanine. There was an ongoing discussion, why is it that way and not the other way? Because we have to see it in chemical correlations as well. So when we talk about the reflector, it is guanine, and the reflector and guanine has 1 auric environment. So it's an auric environment that is more or less a Teflon aura. When we're talking, on the other hand, to the chemical correlation to the guanine, there's the adenine. It's within 1 chemical grouping, and there's the manifestor. And the manifestor has this repelling aura. So both of them are more influenced by the transit field than from other people. And when we go to the deep correlation between the projector and the generator, we have another chemical grouping. So it's the grouping of the pyrimidines, it's the grouping of the purines. So it means, in the same way as the generator has a very deep relationship with the projector, because they make up 90% of humanity anyway, they have this deep auric interference. So the enveloping aura of the generator, this focused aura of this projector. So they really belong to each other. And on the other hand, they're deeply influenced by each other, but not so much as the manifest and the reflector from the program itself. And therefore, we can come to this analogy for, first of all, due to the fact that there is the so-called base pairing, and on the other hand, that there's this chemical grouping. And therefore, we can have this correlation from adenine, the pure yang-yang, to the manifestor, the cytosine, the yang-yin, to the projector, the yin-yang, to the reflector, the yin-yin, uracil and thymine, to the manifesting generator and the generator itself.
In order to move along the path of freedom, an anchor is needed. It's needed in the beginning until it's just like you kind of get the general idea. is what it's for, until life just comes in. So in terms of how you can have an anchor in a life that's continually moving and the people around you and the things happening all the time, it's authority. It's finding the one thing in you that is consistently reliable. And when you found that, you can revolve around it. It means that to stand in your own authority, to actually be individuated, to actually be a person, to be a human being in terms of like their difference to other human beings that are all playing a game, is to be able to stand in your own authority and no one can tell you what to do. You don't have to agree. Individuals don't have to agree. We do not have to agree. We all see differently. And this is a great gift. You have something solid you can trust and you can test out, and it will take you along your road. You can trust it. So this is something that you can, it's another level of let go. I mean, in this movement through the experimentation of human design, it's just a series of let goes. How much deeper can you let go? How much deeper can you let go? What else is there to let go of? It's almost like getting the energy field so clear you meet life without resistance. And authority is the key for that. I mean, it's just the one thing that's always at your back. You know, I often used to think, wouldn't it be nice to have a big brother? You know, wouldn't it be nice to have someone at my back? In this life, we have allies and we have enemies. Normally people don't know which is which because they never really meet anybody else, because they don't, everything's so separate. I mean, the not self is a frozen thing. It's like a painting. To climb out of that painting, you have to take a deep breath in and you begin to do it for yourself. You begin to see other people as other people and what's going on. So authority is a way of keeping you grounded in that process, because everyone who comes within your aura will magnify what you do not have fixed in your chart. So we get confused. I mean, if you want to see confusion, you look at someone with an open G center and you ask them to invite all their friends to one place together at the same time. And those friends aren't going to like the other friends. And the open G that moves through will be changing every time he moves into another setting. It's an understanding that if you have your own authority, you don't take any of it seriously. The not self is where we become very serious because we're trying to hold on to something. But if you have your own authority, it's another way of sitting back in the chair and just seeing what happens, watching from outside. And this will keep, because you're aware of what the authority is. It's not a secret. There are different levels of what can I say to you? It's like different levels of alchemy, different levels of magic in human design in terms of what you know and what is known. And we allow it all to come out. I mean, this is like a sharing of the richest stream of information, and it's so practical that you can tap into it yourself. You've just got to walk down the road. You walk down the road with your authority, and it begins to be that anchor that will allow you to slip into your life and just relax. This doesn't work anymore in terms of telling you what to do. In fact, it's really boring, you know? The mind is really boring. You know, intellectuals, when you sit around intellectuals and they have a conversation, it's like they never say anything. It can be a fantastically interesting subject, but they don't understand it. They ruin the beauty of it because they're just up here. With your authority, you can center into the experience itself. That's what it's like to know that you're a blessed creature. You know, the blessings are everywhere, but you have to relax to be able to take them in. Authority helps you do that.